What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we have some news here. Obviously you can see from the two cards on the screen, we have some leaks that went out today. We're going to be going over the new starter deck cards that were released, the starter deck exclusive cards that were released, and then also there's one card that was also announced today that we're going to be going over. But also we're going to be going over how the cards in the first set can be impacted by just these cards alone, and obviously going further, some of the cards in the first set that you might see more value increase with this set, because I have a couple cards in my mind that are actually going to get better than they already are because of just a few cards that were released or leaked today. If you don't want to get any spoilers, please click off the video. I know I already showed you the 2 leaders, but you guys already knew the 2 leaders that were going to come out. Don't click on the video or watch any further if you don't want to be spoiled. I just want to give you that heads up. Just click away and I won't take any offense to it. But with that being said, going into the first leader unit we're going to be going over, it's Moff Gideon. He is Command Villainy. That's already, as we know, really, really good colors. You get the access to Overwhelm Barrage and other stuff like that. But that being said, we're going to go into his action here. Attack with a unit that costs 3 or less, which is, it's good. For an action, you get to attack with a unit, so that's good value there. If it's attacking into another unit, it gets +1/+0. So that's pretty good. You're making your units stronger and able to take out your opponent's units and kind of control the board in that respect. So that's pretty good. If you control 5 or more resources, he comes out as a leader unit, and he has Overwhelm, and then each friendly unit that costs 3 or less has +1/+0 and gains Overwhelm while attacking a unit. This is actually really cool, and I think it's really good as well because you're able to kind of clear the board while also doing damage to your opponent's base, right? So you can kind of clear his side or her side and, try to keep doing damage to your opponent. Now, there are a few cards that come to mind when it comes to this ability, and it depends on what color you're going to be playing, right? But Scout Bike Pursuer, really good. It has grit, so the more damage it takes, it gets stronger. And while it's attacking someone and it also gets Overwhelm, that can become really, really powerful as the game continues. If you give it things like resilience and other things that make it stronger and have more HP, that can be really, really crazy while it's also getting Overwhelmed. So that's really cool. One of my first things that I kind of thought about when it comes to this ability was Fifth Brother. Now, Fifth Brother, as you guys know, he gets raid 1 for every damage that he has. And if you give him Overwhelm on top of that, you give him a Fallen Lightsaber. He's a force unit. He's doing a ton of damage onto the board. I think that Fifth Brother is an incredible unit to really think about when it comes to Moff Gideon. Obviously, I'm talking about the first set, but still, obviously, there's going to be stuff coming out in the future. Just in the moment right now, Fifth Brother, I think, is a really, really good target for this. And then also, Boba Fett. The reason why Boba Fett is really good is because he has that ability that if the person had attacked already, he can deal 3 damage to it. Then getting Overwhelm on top of that, so they're lowering the amount of HP that unit has, and then he's able to swing with Overwhelm into a weakened unit that might only have 1 left, and then you're dealing 3 extra damage because you're going to be dealing 4 damage, and you can potentially deal up to 3 damage to your opponent off of something like that. So I think that that's another really, really good card that matches with Moff Gideon, and that's just some of the cards. I don't want to make this video super long, but that's just some of the first cards that kind of came to my mind. I'm really excited for this leader because it makes the potential of trooper decks also really, really good because there are a lot of low costing units, and as we continue going through the other cards, I'll kind of go into that a little bit more. But Moff Gideon, he seems really, really cool, and I'm really excited for this leader. Next card we got to go over is the Mandalorian leader card. When you play an upgrade, you may exhaust this leader. If you do so, you get to exhaust an enemy with 4 or less remaining HP, which is pretty cool. And if you control 6 or more resources, you get to deploy him. And then when that's the case, when you play an upgrade on him, then it ups it to 6 HP, you get to exhaust. So I feel like they're going to be releasing in this set a lot of low costing upgrades. So maybe some 1-drop upgrades and stuff like that. But with that being said, depending on what color you're playing him with, you can use Jedi Lightsaber or Devotion and stuff like that. If you're playing blue, you have Academy Training right now. And then the new equipment card that we'll be going into in a little bit. But you're going to want to be playing a lot of upgrades in this deck, which could be pretty interesting because you're going to not only make a lot of your other units stronger while doing this, but if you put it on the Mandalorian himself, it'll also make him stronger. But you're also going to be able to try to slow down your opponent that way. It kind of gives you more of a control feel with this. That being said, if you're playing a heavy upgrade deck, I feel like it's kind of susceptible to removal and stuff like that. So if you're playing against other control decks that focus on removal, like Power of the Dark Side, Vanquish, and stuff like that, and Takedown, it could be a problem, but I want to see as more things kind of come out, maybe there'll be things that kind of get around that. But I think the Mandalorian is very unique in the fact that it's heavily reliant on the upgrades, which means there'll be a lot of upgrade focused decks when it comes to this leader, which would be kind of cool. Next card we're going to go into is Wanted. This one's very interesting. You get to attach it to a unit and it gains bounty. And bounty, basically, you ready to friendly resources when this unit is defeated or captured. There's a new type of mechanic called capture. We'll kind of get into that. But bounty, when I first saw this card, I'm like, man, this in Boba Fett is crazy, because Boba Fett can now not only ready a resource off of that, he can ready off 2 more off of a bounty, and then also if he's out and he attacks, he can ready 2 more. It gives Boba Fett more of a way to ready up his resources. But not only that, you can now ready your resources in a pretty good amount of quantity with any yellow deck, so that's pretty good there. It's going to allow a lot of yellow decks to be able to try to prolong their plays, kind of like Boba Fett, but now Boba Fett also has the ability to extend even more, which is kind of crazy to me. But still, Wanted is very unique, and it's cool to see the new bounty tag and the bounty keyword, because, you know, we're getting more keywords and it's pretty exciting. But I think Wanted is going to be a pretty fun card in yellow decks in the next set. Next, we're going to go ahead and hop into the heroic cards first. Even though I did Moff Gideon first, I think I'm just going to continue on with the heroic cards. And we have the Mandalorian rifle here. When played, if attached to the Mandalorian, he captures an exhausted enemy non-leader unit, which is pretty crazy. Now we're going to go into what capturing is. Put the captured unit's face down underneath him until he leaves play. So you can really slow down your opponent. If he has a really important unit on the board, you can pretty much get rid of him for a while you keep the Mandalorian in play, which is actually pretty crazy, because like being able to just get rid of it, it does go back after you lose the Mandalorian, so you have to try to keep him on the board. But just basically just being like, that's mine now, is pretty crazy to me. You can stop an opponent's process in a match right away and just kind of out of nowhere, and I think that's really good. And obviously the Mandalorian rifle works really well with the Mandalorian leader, being that it's an equip that will trigger his ability, and it's really good synergy in that regard. But still, it's very unique. It's cool to see the capture mechanic and what it does. And then now we're going to go into the very next unit here. We have Grogu. Grogu is pretty crazy. He is a 2-cost. He is a 0/5, and his action is, for the action, exhaust an enemy unit. So you want to keep him on the board as long as possible, and you can pretty much just go ahead and just keep exhausting them once a turn and exhausting your opponent's units to really slow them down, which is pretty cool. It's kind of like the Thrawn ability, except you don't have to look at the top of the opponent's deck. You just get to do it because it's Grogu. He's very low cost at 2, and then he's pretty hard to get over at 5 HP. Yes, he's not going to be doing any damage, but you're not using him for the damage. You're using him to slow down your opponent, and I think he's really crazy with another new card we're going to be going over in a little bit. But the next card I want to go over is the Razor Crest. It has Restore 2, which is pretty good. I love units with Restore to bring back your HP and stuff like that. And then when played, you may return an upgrade from your discard pile back to your hand. So if one of your upgrades get defeated, you can bring it back to your hand using this. But again, if you have a Jedi lightsaber and you put it on Grogu, then Grogu dies, and then you play another Grogu, you can bring back, using the Razor Crest, the Jedi lightsaber, and put it back on Grogu, and Grogu's right back to where he started. And I just feel like it's really good, especially with Restore 2, making it so you can live a little bit longer. Now the final card for the heroic units, we have the Mandalorian, where he goes, I go. It's crazy. He comes in, he's a Sentinel. He's a 6-cost, but being 5/6, it makes him a little bit hard to get over. And then, not only that though, he works so well with Grogu, it's crazy. When he plays, when you play him, obviously on play, you get to heal up all the HP off of a unit that costs 2 or less, which is really, really good, especially on Grogu, but then also gives him 2 shields. So that combination to me is like crazy. It's like mind-boggling, because Grogu early game gonna be pretty hard to get over anyway. You're gonna want to play him Mandalorian, so you're gonna put upgrades on him and stuff like that. So I think that Mandalorian is gonna be played in blue more often than not because of the Force upgrades and stuff like that. I just feel like it's going to be a good combination, plus with the Razor Crest as well. But with that being said, you go ahead, you play Grogu, you put a Jedi lightsaber maybe on him on the first turn, cool, right? And then when you have 6 resources, you get to go ahead and play this Mandalorian card, and if Grogu has taken any damage, heal it all off, and then give it 2 shields to make it really, really hard to get over. People are going to need to run things like Vanquish to really get rid of it. So it's just a really cool combination to see. I do think that the Mandalorian legendary unit is really cool. And so these heroic cards, I think, again, I'm just really excited. I'm sorry about that, guys, but like these are some really cool units, and I'm really excited for this next set. But with that being said, let's go ahead and hop over to the villainy side and talk about those cards, because I'm actually a little bit more excited for those units and stuff like that, because I feel like there's a lot more synergy with this first set, right? So let's go over the phase 3 Dark Trooper here. He's a Sentinel, and when combat damage is dealt to this unit, give an experience token to this unit. Really, really crazy. It's just, it gets stronger as it takes more damage. So that's really cool. And it works really well with a Trooper deck, because you can go ahead and, like, it's a 3 cost. It works for Moff Gideon. It gets overwhelmed when attacking into something with Moff Gideon's ability when he's out as a leader unit. It's just really, really cool. You can get it to be really, really strong. And then the next card that kind of goes with it, defeat a non-leader unit that costs 3 or less. Now this can be on your opponent's side, but you might want to use it on your phase 3 Dark Trooper that has a couple experience on it, and then go ahead, give it to Moff Gideon or another unit like maybe Fifth Brother and stuff like that. So you can pretty much transfer experience tokens to another unit using calculated lethality, which is really, really cool. With that being said, calculated lethality is just a really cool concept, and I'm really excited to really try that one out. And then another card that works really well with a lot of the cards from set 1, Gideon's Light Cruiser. It has Overwhelm. That seems to be Moff Gideon's thing, which is crazy to me. He has potential to be really, really good, because he can take out units and still deal enough damage to the opponent's base to potentially like keep up momentum while also controlling the board, which is kind of crazy to me. But when played, if you control Moff Gideon as a leader or a unit, so if you just have him as a leader, play a villainy unit that costs 3 or less from your hand or discard pile for free. Again, that includes Boba Fett, that includes Fifth Brother, Del Mico, stuff like that. It's crazy what this can include. You can also use this, and I really wanted to showcase this, but if you're playing a Trooper Moff Gideon deck and you can go ahead and grab General Tag from the discard pile, and you have a bunch of Troopers on board and you play this to give out the experience from General Tag to all your to 3 Troopers, up to 3 Troopers, is just really good value in making your units really strong while also having this onto the board. It's just, I think that a Trooper Moff Gideon deck has potential to be a lot of fun, and I'm really excited for it. So again, those are the new cards that I wanted to talk about. Obviously, there's gonna be a lot of people talking about them, but I wanted to kind of give my thoughts on it. But then I also now want to go ahead and go over the cards from the first set that might see an increase in play from this set. And the first card I want to talk about is Traitorous. Now, Traitorous, usually for me, at least in my experience, is a sideboard piece for when you go up against Trooper decks that are heavy experience, right? Or a Boba Fett deck that you can take a Boba Fett from your opponents like that. But with Moff Gideon being heavily focused on 3 or less cost units, like the phase 3 Dark Trooper and stuff like that, you can see Traitorous get extreme value increase, because you could take the phase 3 Dark Trooper potentially, you can get a Sentinel that might have already gotten an experience token and then kind of go that way. But I do think Traitorous has potential to see an increase in play come the next set. At least that's in my opinion, right? Another card that's going to see an increase in value, and like not even like value, and that's not important now, but it's the Boba Fett unit card. Again, works really well with Moff Gideon, and it's just, again, maybe I should just put up like the 3 cost units, right? Increase in value, 3 cost units. I'm gonna put up Fifth Brother, Boba Fett, and stuff like that. So like, it's really, those are the 2 that I really want to talk about, is Fifth Brother and Boba Fett, because giving those 2 things overwhelm with Moff Gideon, I think is going to make them extremely strong. Like, Boba Fett's already extremely strong, being able to deal out 3 damage before they attack, if that unit that it's attacking already attacked this phase. But now giving it overwhelm to lower that thing's HP, swing into it, and then deal damage to the base, crazy. Same thing with the Fifth Brother. The Fifth Brother gets stronger as it gets hit, and you can get him to extreme amounts of damage output. Giving that overwhelm is extremely, extremely scary. So those are just a couple of cards that kind of came to mind when it comes to like the value increase, right? And then finally, from the first set, obviously when it comes to the Mandalorian side of things, I do think you're going to be seeing a lot more upgrades played, but it also depends on how many upgrades get released in the next set. So you might see things like Electro Staff. I think Electro Staff would be really, really good on the Mandalorian and stuff like that. And Mandalorian Rifle, obviously. Jedi Lightsaber with Grogu. So that might be a card that you might see some increased play coming in the next set. Not that it doesn't see play now, but with Grogu, I think that combination is just really, really good. So that's going to do it for us today. I just wanted to quickly go over a few cards, my mindset when seeing them, right? The cards from the first set that I already see some value going up and like might be seeing more play in more decks. So if you are excited for that and you're new to the channel, you're enjoying the content, make sure you hit that sub button. Support is always appreciated. Again, I wasn't planning on making this video. It just kind of came out of nowhere and I just had to go ahead and start talking about this stuff. But again, with that being said, we're going to go on out here and we'll see you guys in the next video.